It's been a while. How y'all doing? I know I haven't posted in a while, but I really wanted to come on here and do like a quick little story time to set off vlogmas for the year. And yeah, like let's get into it. All right, so there's a lot of talk on social media about people getting scammed, swindlers, deceptions, and everything. And I just wanted to tell my story about the time that somebody tried to do this to me, but it's not gonna be that scandalous and weird because I can only do things for the plot for so long. So before I get into the story, I want to like give a little bit of background as to how we got here and how these decisions were made in the first place. So I'm originally from Chicago, but I lived in Maryland for 2 years. And when I was in Maryland for those 2 years, I like two things had to happen before I got to this whole point. This guy trying to scam me. One, I went to school at like Stevenson University, and I was friends with this girl named Angelina, and she was like a social work major, but she specialized in helping to educate people about human trafficking, the dangers of it. And through being friends with her, I really got educated about human trafficking and all the different angles about it. And that's before people were talking about human trafficking. That's before people would be like, oh my gosh, they're putting weird stuff on our cars in Target. They're trying to get me. Like, that's before all that conversation started to happen. Like, I never heard the term human trafficking before I met this person. So I'm really grateful that I was able to have the experience of meeting her and learning about human trafficking in all the different ways in which people can get caught up in it. It's not what you think it is. It's not the people in the white vans with the boarded up windows that you got to worry about. It's the people in your circle. It's your friends, your family, your boyfriend, your husband, your siblings, your parents, your grandparents, it's your coaches. Is really prevalent in like the entertainment space, like the modeling, the music, the fashion industry. So that's why you that's why you hear so many stories about, people like Diddy and all the people associated with him, and why you hear stories about, pop stars being accused of being an SW and all other things. Like, it's just really prevalent in so many different ways in our lives. It's not always going to be a stranger coming to kidnap us and put us in this. It's like a whole process, it's a whole system, it's a whole network and things. So I'm really grateful that I met her and she was able to educate me about the dangers of human trafficking and different ways to get caught up and red flags to look out for and like what you just gotta know. And then I ended up having to drop out of this college. That's, a different story for a different day. But I ended up meeting this guy named Brian in a Barnes and Noble, and we ended up becoming friends. And I was talking to him about, different problems I was having, finding jobs and how, the economy is such a joke and, this, that, and the third. And he was also having the same problem. And we were just kind of venting to each other. And then he got a job. And he was like, hey, I just got a job. Why don't you try applying to the company that I work for? They're always hiring. They're really easy to get in. Like, you should totally go. So I applied to the job and it was easy to get hired. It felt like they literally hired everybody that applied. Like, they really didn't have any standards, any criteria, or anything. And, that's a different story for a different day. But even though we worked for the same company, the company was kind of broken up and like different focuses. Like, he was with Greenpeace and talking to people about like the environment and stuff. And I was with like a different company that I forgot the name of. It was like Plan Something. And it was about educating people about human trafficking and helping to raise awareness. And most importantly, to the company was convincing people to pay like $30 a month to sponsor a kid to help protect them from the predatory strategies that can come with human trafficking and helping to also raise funds for people who have already been in the system, helping them get the therapy and everything they need in place so that they're less vulnerable to human trafficking. So, my friend was a social worker specializing in assisting victims of human trafficking and domestic violence. I ended up working for a company that specialized in educating people about the dangers of human trafficking, helping raise awareness, and helping to get people to care about other people and like wanting to donate their hard earned money into sponsoring kids that are in either in danger of human trafficking or they are like already a victim of it and they need resources to help get out of it. And then when I left this job and I started doing freelance modeling, so three things had to happen before I met this person. Okay, this is the third thing. And then when I started freelance modeling and I met all these people in the industry, all these photographers, all these makeup artists, hairstylists, fashion designers, agents, people working in different facets of different agencies. Like the people that I was actually friends with, the people that I would hang out with, they made it a point to every single time we met, every single time that was like some type of get together for people in the industry, there was always some type of PSA about red flags to look for in the industry. You know, if an agent approaches you and says, "Hey, I'm with a modeling agency and I'm recruiting for models," blah, blah, blah. First of all, 9 times out of 10, they're a scammer or they're a human trafficker because that's not even what model agents do for the most part. Like being a recruiter and being an agent, like those are completely different jobs. Those are completely different roles. They're set up completely separate. It's a it's a different thing. So 9 times out of 10 they're lying and they're either trying to scam you out of money or they are a human trafficker or they are just some type of abuser. Like either way, you're not safe when it comes to somebody that gets in your face and starts grumbling about, oh, I'm an agent with a model agency, blah blah blah. Because scam, a common scam that went around in like the freelance model community, specifically like on like Model Mayhem back when they had standards about who had to be on there or whatever, is somebody would reach out to you and they would say that they were like a writer or a publisher with like a magazine and they were going to offer you a bunch of money to be published in a magazine and they're going to mail you a check and they're going to tell you where we're going to pay you this amount and then the check is going to be for an exorbitant amount and then they're going to tell you, yeah, we're going to send you this check, we know it's too much, but just take out the money that we're going to pay you and then you send us the rest back. Scam, right? Scam. There was like so much effort. Like people were always like we would just be having fun, having a shoot, laughing, having a good time, either working or, just hanging out. And somebody somewhere throughout the session would always make a point to say, hey, don't let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do in this industry. Don't let anybody put you in a position to make you uncomfortable. Know your intentions, know your boundaries, know your standards, and don't let anybody budge on those things. Like, if you are not interested and you're not comfortable with doing any type of lingerie or bikini work, and you only want to do like fully clothed modeling jobs, don't let people tell you that you have to go against your boundaries, go against your standards, go against your comforts in order to be successful in this industry. Don't let people push you around and tell you what you can and cannot do or whatever. If you are not interested and you are not comfortable with doing like any type of lewd or erotic shoots, you basically don't want to do porn with people, you can have those boundaries. And if you are a model and you're working in the fashion industry, nobody should be coming in your face asking you to do those things in the first place, because you should be modeling clothes for a brand to sell the clothes, not to sell some type of sexual fantasy. If you are a model and you are not interested in being a nude model, you only want to do like fashion shoots, or you only want to do beauty shoots, or you only want to do, runway, editorial, whatever, and people ask you to do stuff that you didn't sign up for, that you're uncomfortable. If you sign up for one thing and then they try and switch things up on you or try and add something on at the end, don't feel like, oh, I can't say no, I can't back out of it. Don't feel like, well, I'm already here. Well, I might as well. Well, well, he's a really big photographer. Well, this is a really big designer. Well, this is a really big agent. And I have to do this in order to put in a good word to help excel in my career and, all this other stuff. Like, you literally don't have to do anything that you don't feel comfortable with doing. And modeling is not the only way that you could make money. You could literally work any job. Like, you don't have to go through all these things. Like, there are people in my circle who made it a point to say, don't let people make you feel uncomfortable. Don't let people manipulate you into going along with things that you do not want to go along with. Like, that was drilled into my brain. At first, I didn't understand. I was like, yeah, I know. I'm not going to let people do this, this, and this. But then I got into those situations where people tried to force me to do things I didn't really feel comfortable with doing, and I would say no, and it would cause backlash towards me, or people trying to say, well, I'm gonna put in a bad word with so and so. I'm gonna spread this rumor that you're a bad model. I'm gonna spread this rumor that you're difficult or whatever, so that nobody wants to work with you. Well, I know this person, and I know that person. I just be like, I don't care. So, like, you just have to be really strong willed. You have to be really intentional. You have to know who you are and who you want to be, and not let people sway you every which way. So because all of that was kind of like taught to me like within the span of 2 years when I lived in Maryland and I came back to Chicago, and everything's different as far as like the model fashion scene here. Like, it's nothing like on the East Coast. And everything is different now than how it was like over a decade ago. So, okay. So when I met this guy, having all that training, having all that, kind of drilled into me, I kind of was like aware of these scams, aware of the scammers and whatever, but I just wasn't in a good headspace, and I was just kind of doing things for the plot back then. So I was just kind of in a phase of my life where I was just doing stuff. Like, one time I hitchhiked, one time I followed a group of strangers home. Like, I don't know, like it was it was a crazy time in my life. So when I met this person, he just kind of caught me at the right time when I was in my do it for the plot era, if you will. So I was walking down the street downtown, and this guy stops me and he's like, "What country in Africa are you from?" I'm like, "America." "No, what country are you really from?" "America." "No, like, where are your parents from?" "America." "Oh, well, like, were you like adopted?" "No." "Oh, are you like mixed? Is like one of your parents African?" "No." I'm not offended by people assuming that I'm African instead of African American. It's just that it's annoying continuing to have the same conversation over and over again with people. And it's like they don't believe me when I tell them the answer, and then they try and argue with me about it. Like, so I was already just annoyed. Like, all right, dude, leave me alone. What the fuck? So the guy keeps talking to me, and he's like, wow, you're really tall, you're really skinny, you're really pretty, you're like, you're not wearing any makeup or anything, and you're already stunning, like, are you a model? Are you wanting to be a model? Whatever. And I was like, oh, I've done a little modeling here and there. I just was trying to keep my interaction with him really short and brief because, like, who are you? Why are you talking to me? Like, you're literally just a strange man. I don't know what the fuck is going on. And then he like introduces himself. I think his name was Kay, but honestly, I blocked out a lot of this time in my life. I couldn't tell you his last name. I couldn't tell you like the website or anything. But I think that his name was Kay, so we're just gonna call him Kay. So he introduced himself. He said that he was like a modeling agent or whatever, and I was just like, yeah, sure. Anyways, and I don't know. He gets me to talking to him. I don't know what we talked about because this conversation was well over a decade ago, probably like over 15 years ago at this point, to be honest. So he starts talking to me about, I don't know, whatever. So we get a conversation going. We just happened to go to the same place at the same time. Like he was already heading in the direction that I was going, and he like turned around and started talking to me. Like I don't know, it was weird. So for some reason, I was comfortable enough to start talking to this guy, and he started talking to me about his business endeavors and ventures and whatever. I don't know the contents of the conversation. I just know that we talked for a little bit, and somehow, some way throughout that conversation, we ended up being in communication with each other, and I kept running into him all over the city. It's like every time I went downtown, I would see him.
Every time I come in the kitchen, you in the kitchen.
And also, I was going to school downtown, so I was always downtown because I was in school and my school was downtown. And, I would like try and get work, and a lot of job interviews that I was going to was downtown. So, like, I was always downtown. And then I ended up getting like a paid internship downtown as well. So, I was going to school and I was working downtown. So, I was always downtown for either work or school, or I was running some errands in between the things. So I was always downtown, and he was always downtown every time I was down there. It's like, do you go anywhere else? Like I never seen you a day in my life, and now ever since I met you, you're literally everywhere. And I don't know, I just thought it was weird. I thought it was a coincidence. Like, and he would always strike up conversations with me about this, that, and the other, whatever. So he starts talking to me about this shoot that he has planned, and then he's talking to me about like, oh, we're gonna have this photo shoot in the summer in Chicago, and it's gonna be, a really cool shoot. We're gonna have all these people and all this stuff going on. The only thing is that the client wants all the girls to have sew-ins. And at first I said no, because I don't want a sew-in. Like, I'm at a point in my life where I'm just not interested in having straight hair. Like, I have not straightened my hair in over a decade. And I just don't like the idea of sitting there and letting someone sew hair onto my hair. I tried wigs and they were a sensory nightmare, and I just don't like it. So I said no, but he kept trying to convince me, like, oh well, this shoot's gonna pay like $1,000. Then once you get in with these guys, you can get hired for other gigs, and then I can sign you over my agency, and you don't have to do this, that, and the third, because you already have a portfolio. You don't have to like prove yourself and blah blah blah, whatever, whatever. And I kept saying no because like I don't like, yeah, I'll do a shoot with you. Like if you want to do a shoot, that's fine, but I don't want to get a sew in. Like I'm not interested. But anyways, he kept like trying to convince me, and I guess my better judgment, I was like, yeah, sure. And then he said I had to pay him like $300 for the hair for the shoot, and then the hairstylist would do my hair. And I was like, sure. So I gave him the money, and he never gave me the hair, but I ended up getting the hair anyways. So we'll come back to that later. So then he said, oh, my friend needs an assistant. My friend's gonna be like the hairstylist that's gonna be doing you guys a sew in for the photo shoots, and she needs an assistant for this one day. It's like a 14-hour day to like assist her with stuff. The day that this guy said was like the last day before finals, when I tried to go to dental assistant school the first time around. And I told him, like, I work 2 jobs, 7 days a week. This is my study day. I need that day to study. I can't do it. But he kept, being a little gremlin in my ear, like, oh, this is such a good opportunity. Like if you do this one thing this one time, maybe you can get a job as like a hairstylist assistant, and it'll be like another thing that you can add to your modeling resume, and you can like work for other hairstylists too. And a lot of these hairstylists, they like work with celebrities and all that. Like you get your foot in the door with modeling and stuff more if you go and do this one thing. So I was, yeah, sure, whatever. Against my better judgment, I went there. The lady was a bitch to me, got on my last damn nerves. I ended up meeting the girl that ended up being my future roommate, which full circle moment. Once all of that was said and done, I failed my test and I couldn't retake it and I couldn't re-enroll into the next semester because that was the last year that that school in particular was doing the dental assistant program. And then they switched all the medical and healthcare programs from one college to another college. And when they did that, they completely eliminated dental assisting and focused on dental hygiene only instead. So I was just kind of shit out of luck. I wasn't able to go back to school until years later. So there's that kind of like fucked up the trajectory of my life, letting this man scam me of my time and my energy and everything. So I was just really annoyed and just like not wanting to do anything with him anymore at that point. And I would meet up with him and he would be like he would reach out to me to meet up and would say, hey, we need to meet up at such and such date and time because we need to discuss the details of the shoot coming up. So I would meet up with him to discuss the details of the shoot. And instead of discussing the details of the shoot coming up, he kept trying to convince me to give him more money. And the money that he was asking for wasn't for hair, wasn't for, the sew in or, whatever the hell. It was just like for his agency that wasn't a real agency that he had already told me that I didn't have to pay for, but now he's telling me that I need to pay for in order to do the shoot. So he was trying to convince me that in order for me to book a shoot through him to get paid $1,000, I had to pay him $1,800 in agency fees to get the math just wasn't mathing. It really wasn't making any sense. And I was like, I'm not giving you any more money. Where is my hair that I paid for? Like, and I don't want to sit there for hours on end and let that lady sew hair into my hair. And he's like, oh, but you have to because your hair is short and it's for like a music video. And men, they like women with long hair. And you want to appeal to men, right? Because you're a model, and that's basically the point of being a model, right? I was like, no. So he reached out to me again to meet up. He was like, oh, you don't have to pay for any fees. Don't worry about that. Blah, blah, blah. We need to meet up to discuss details of the shoot. I was like, what shoot? You told me I wasn't going to be able to do the shoot because I didn't pay you $1,800. It's like, oh, you don't have to pay $1,800. You can do a payment plan. You can just give me $300, every once in a while, and then I'll rebook you for the shoot. I was like, I thought that the date for the shoot had passed. Well, there's another shoot, it's like an ongoing thing they have, once or twice a month. And I helped this other girl, the hairstylist that you worked with, she just booked the shoot for $1,000 and you could work with her. And I was like, I don't want to work with her. And if she's already booking shoots for $1,000, then why does she need you? And why are you using her to convince me to pay you more money to get paid this money? Like, it just wasn't making any sense. And then he gave me his card with his website on it. And the website, it's just like, it wasn't a real website. Like, it was just like one of those really cheap, outdated website. Like, it had a picture of him on it and like the agent fees. And that was like it. It was just like a page. It wasn't like any buttons that you click on. There was no menu. There was no search. There was no models that he worked with. There was no testimonials, reviews, like nothing. Like it just wasn't a real website. And the so called agency that he had was not a real agency. It was not a business. It was not registered. Like it didn't even make any sense. And at this point in time, it's like I've been booking my own shoes for years. I've been booking shoots that pay hundreds of dollars before I met this guy. I don't really need this nonsense. So when he figured out that he couldn't convince me to give him more money and I wasn't interested in working with him, and before when I was meeting up with him, I was kind of dressing down. Like he'd only see me with little to no makeup because I was either going to or from work or I just kind of had like a lazy day and I just didn't feel like doing anything. So one day he has to meet up with me and discuss this as nerd. And on this day in particular, I dressed more alternative, like how I would normally dress if I'm not going to work. And when I was at work, I was like kind of in a corporate government environment. So I was like very basic. I didn't wear any makeup. I had like brown faux locks when I was at this internship. And and like before that, like my hair was just like my regular natural hair color. Like I didn't have any hair dye, I didn't have any bleach or anything. I didn't have a mohawk. I still don't have any visible tattoos. I don't have any piercings aside from my ears. And on this day, I had my spike choker. I had like some spike earrings. I just wore like a black smoky eye, my black lipstick, and like some shorts, some rip tights, boots. Like I just looked very goth alternative on this day and everything. So he got to see more of my real self and not like my corporate self. And he was like, "Oh, so this is what you're into. This is what you like dress. Oh, that's fine. You don't have to be a normal model. You can be a goth model. Tattoo models are becoming more popular and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Save it. I will not be giving you any more money. Where is my hair?" And he never answered my question. He would just, "Oh, well, if this is your look and this is your style, like we can work with this, we can do this, we can do that." And like kept trying to convince me. Like basically, he was trying to convince me that I needed him in order to get work, even though I was already getting work before I met him. And like I already had a portfolio, I already had connections. And like at this point, I had gotten to a point in my freelance modeling career where if I needed gigs, I didn't always have to go online and look for them. Like I had people in my circle that would just recommend me to jobs that were not posted online or anything and just say, "Oh, you're looking for a model? Oh, you should ask Ellen." Or, "Hey, Ellen, you're still doing that modeling thing? Oh, my friend has this thing going on. Like, you should go work with him." Like, I was already getting gigs that were not listed, like, without even really having to try. So, this guy trying to convince me that I needed him to get work, the math wasn't mathing. Like, the math was not mathing. And so, I figured out that this was a scam. This isn't going anywhere. I told him that he's full of shit and to stop trying to contact me and stop this song and dance. Do not contact me anymore. I don't want to be bothered. I will not be giving you any more money. Give me my hair. If you contact me again and if it's not about you giving me the hair that I paid for, even without the shoots, like even without the shoots, even without the sew-in, because like I'm not sitting in that lady's chair. She's not touching me. She's not touching my hair. She's not sewing hair onto my head like I'm a fucking doll. Either give me my money or give me my hair. I don't want to hear anything else that you have to say. Like, if it's not about you giving me back my money or giving me the hair that I paid for, then I don't want anything to do with you. So he kept trying to contact me, even after this, to try and convince me that I needed him to make money and get work, even though I was already making money and I was already getting work. So, like, the math just wasn't mathing. Like at first he said, "Oh, you have to change your appearance to be more appealing to men," and that was his logic behind why I needed to get a sew in. And then when he saw me in my alternative appearance, he's like, "Oh, this is what you're into. We can work with this. We can do this, this, and that." And then when that didn't work, he flipped the script and was like, "Well, you need to work with me because I'm gonna give you a makeover and we're gonna change this, this, and this so you can get more work and you can be taken more seriously and you can do this, this, and this." Like he would contradict himself constantly. And then he introduced me to this one guy that he said was like a big shot in the modeling world. I never heard of him. Nobody in my circle has ever heard of him or whatever. And he said, "Oh, you should go to this party where this guy is gonna be. He's like a big shot or whatever. He has all these connections." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, I'll go to like a networking event. I like those. I've been to like modeling networking events and stuff before, and I've met a lot of cool people. So I was like, cool. That sounds like a great opportunity. I'll go to this party." And I just wear like my flat Timberland boots, and I don't know what I was wearing dress wise, but I think I just dressed like my normal alternative self. Like I didn't try and like be basic and fit in or whatever. So I go to this party and it was like down in the West Loop area, like Fulton Market before Fulton Market was Fulton Market, back when it was just like these abandoned warehouses and former meat packing districts and like really hidden, kind of clubs or whatever. So I go to this club thing that this guy's supposed to be hosting. That's supposed to be like a modeling network group or whatever. So I get there. The guy, he isn't really there, but there's other people there for me to talk to and network with. So I'm trying to like, be social, talk to people, whatever. And before I can even like get situated, like I walk in the door, and before I can like even figure out like, okay, where do I put my coat? Where do I sit? Where do I go and get a drink? Whatever. Just trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. This lady comes up to me and she's just like, I can't believe you're not wearing heels. If you're gonna come out and go out at night. You're a lady, you're supposed to be wearing heels. And I was like, I don't want to wear heels. Like, I had to walk and take the train and walk in all this uneven, gravelly nonsense. Like, and I took the green line there. And if you're from Chicago and you know the green line is sketchy as fuck. And honestly, I had no business, trying to, take the freaking green line to go out to this club or whatever. And this is before like Uber and Lyft and all of that. So I would have been at the mercy of either taking a cab home or, go there, come home how I got there. So I was just annoyed by that experience. So I walk away like, that was weird. Another lady comes to me and she says the exact same thing. It's like she parroted the last lady. Like, oh my gosh, you're not wearing heels. You're a lady. You're supposed to come out. Like, when you go outside, you're supposed to wear heels. And I tell her the same thing I told the next lady. I walk away from her. Another lady comes up to me and says the exact same thing. It's like they're all a part of some cult to scope out the girls not wearing heels to like have this exact same speech. And I'm just like, okay, this is weird. So I find somewhere to sit and or stand at like a table or whatever. I don't know. And while I'm doing that, this group of women, like all three of those women that I told you had come up to me to talk to me about not wearing heels, had came up to like surround me and be like, "You're young, so I feel like I need to put you on." Well, when you're a young lady, when you go outside at night and you go to a club, a bar, a party, or event, especially some type of networking thing in the industry, you need to be wearing heels and blah, blah, blah. And before I could even say, like, we already had this conversation, why am I having this conversation again? It's like another lady would say the same thing, and another lady would say the same thing. It's like they were all like circling me, berating me about not wearing heels to this fucking event. And I finally got out of there and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with those women? Why are they so mad that I'm not wearing heels? If anything, people are usually mad that I am wearing heels because I'm tall and they're like, oh my gosh, you're already tall. Why are you wearing heels? But no, it was the opposite. And I was like, am I in a cult? What the fuck is this? So the guy that's hosting the event finally arrives to the party or whatever, and people are like so excited to talk to him or whatever. But he literally is like standing around in the shadows looking mysterious. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, that guy's so fucking weird. What the hell is going on? And when I say in the shadows, I mean this place had curtains and they didn't have big lights. They just had lamps and, you know, like there wasn't a giant light to light up the whole room. It was like these lamps on the ceiling and lamps against the wall. So it was kind of dark and everybody was in the light, but he would just be on the outskirts of where the lights are and like stand around the shadows and just kind of look around at everybody. And if he caught somebody's attention, like if he made direct eye contact with somebody, they would go over there and try and talk to him. And like if he wanted to talk to them, then he would come into the light and talk to them, and everybody would look at him and this interaction and like I don't know, like it was just so weird and cult like. And I was just like, this isn't fun. I don't think I'm gonna have any meaningful experience with this. I'm ready to go. But then I talked to this one lady and she seemed normal. And she was like, is it just me or is everybody here weird as fuck? Because I thought this was gonna be like a fun networking event and everybody's acting like they're in some weird ass cult and they're literally worshiping this one guy and I don't know what that was going on. I was like, yeah. But I was in my people pleasing era and I was trying to stay at this event as long as possible because I was told it was supposed to be some type of thing happening at the end or whatever. I don't know. And so I had that interaction with her. And finally, I was able to talk to this guy, and he did not speak to me directly like a regular person. Like, I'm here and he's across from me, but instead of facing me directly, he just kind of sits sideways and he's talking to me like this. Like, his body is sideways and he's just kind of looking over at his shoulder. He's not even, like this. He's just like, and talking to me like that. And I just thought that was so weird and so rude and so like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And the first time I met this guy, he had that gray suit and fedora. The second time I met this guy, he had that gray suit and fedora. And I'm like, why is he wearing that fuck ass fedora inside? And then he had sunglasses like on his suit, but the event was at night and it started at night. Like, so you left your house at night with sunglasses? I don't, like, it was just so fucking weird. So he starts talking to me, but he has that weird ass posture and like vibe about him. And like he's like, "Oh, so like I see that you're a nice young lady and you're interested in modeling and I heard that you're pretty talented and you're pretty tall and skinny. I think you're gonna fit in pretty well here, huh?" I was like, "Yeah, thanks." And I don't know, like I was trying to talk to him like a person and he just, I kid you not, he literally like faded into the shadows. Like he wasn't even all the way in the light. He was just kind of, just close enough to me to where like part of his face and stuff was kind of illuminated. Like he said that one little bit to me and literally like I don't know, he literally faded into the shadows while I was like trying to talk to him. And I was like, is he a fucking vampire? What the hell is going on here? Like it just felt like a huge energy harvesting event or something. And I was like, I'm getting the hell out of here. So that lady that talked to me earlier was like, these people are weird as fuck. What the hell is going on? She sees that I'm about to leave and she comes and talks to me and we have a conversation. And she's like, yeah, I just wanted to get out of the house because I was married to this old man and he just wanted to keep me up in the house all cooped up. And, I'm young and I'm free and I want to be outside. I thought this was going to be a fun thing to do. I thought you were leaving. I know earlier you said that you took the green line down here, but this area isn't safe. Where do you live? I'm going to drop you off. I don't feel comfortable with you leaving this area by yourself. Like, I'm going to drop you off at home. So I get in the car with this lady. I don't know. We had a talk on the way home. She seemed cool. She seemed normal. She dropped me off in my apartment. And then, I left. I didn't say that full event because I was too creeped the fuck out. And that's saying something because I'm literally goth and I go to goth clubs. And like, I would hang around people with red eye contacts that had things and people that I don't know, people that are like on the outskirts of society that people would consider weird. And that was weird as fuck to me. Okay? It was weird as fuck to me. So I ended up leaving, and I guess the guy snitched on me to this guy Kay that I left early. And I don't know. So Kay decides to berate me about leaving this party early and trying to make it seem like not staying the full party was like detrimental to my career and I should be ashamed of myself and all this other stuff. And I was like, there is no way that this man is this mad at me because I didn't choose to stay at a party the full length of the party. Like something else is going on. I don't know what's happening, but I don't want anything to do with this. I don't know anything to do with this guy. Like he's trying to get me. First, he was trying to scam me for my time, and then he scammed me, trying to scam me for money, and he asked me for more money. He's contradicting himself a lot. Like every person that this guy introduced me to was weirder than the last. I just like he just kept throwing all the manipulation tactics at me And I just wasn't, I don't know, I just wasn't receptive to it. So back then, you could not block people's phone number. You could not report somebody's number as spam. Like the phones from like 10, 15 years ago, like did not have that feature. So me deleting his number didn't really do anything. Like he still had my number and he was still able to contact me and everything. And he was trying to contact me and I just would start ignoring him until he stopped reaching out to me. So the company that he was working with for like the hair and like the shoot or whatever, they ended up emailing me and was basically like, hey, we don't work with that guy anymore. Did you receive the hair? Because we received your payment for the hair, but did you receive the hair from that guy? And I said, no, I never received the hair, never did the shoot, never did anything. And they were like, send us your address. We are going to ship you the hair that you ordered. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to do it, anything to go on with him. I was like, cool. I sent them my address. They sent me the hair. They sent me the tracking and everything. You know, good doing business with you. You know, stay safe, stay away from that guy. You know, we're no longer in business with him. I don't know what he did to those people, but worked out for me because I managed to get the hair. I don't do sew-ins. I would only use this hair to like make V-shaped bangs and stuff.
The banging, the banging. Oh, oh, oh.
And I'm not a hairstylist. I don't do hair. So the first time I made these bangs, they look cute. The second time I did it, they were ugly and chunky as hell. Like it's a very cringe, but that's the only reason why I kept the hair. And it was, I don't know, it was like 5 bags of hair. I don't know what that is in terms of a bundle, a weft, or what. I don't speak so in whatever, but it was a lot. And it was really nice, high quality human hair. It was really soft. It wasn't like any of the wigs that I had when I had to work jobs where I need to wear wigs. Like the hair did not irritate my skin at all. Like it was really nice. So if I were the type of person to get sew-ins or whatever, like that would be the type of hair that I would use. And it was close to like my hair texture when I straightened my hair. So I felt like it was a good quality hair and like it was a good deal. But I don't know anything about it. I don't know the name of this company. I think I deleted those emails because I just want to be done with him. And I still had bundles from this hair from over a decade ago until maybe like a year or so ago. I found like the remaining bundles and I just threw them away because I'm like, every time I see this, it reminds me of that guy and his weird ass experience and everything to do with it. And I just don't want anything to do with it. So I ended up just throwing it away. So literally money down the drain, but whatever. At least I'm not getting scammed by this weird ass guy and his weird ass friends that he was introducing me to. And so the story doesn't even end there. So the girl that I saw when I was like doing the assistant work for that hairstylist that cost me my whole like dental assistant career and dropped the trajectory of my life, she ended up being my roommate. So when I was living in this apartment, I didn't know that that was going to be the apartment I was going to be living in. When I found this place, I was literally homeless and living in like this girl's room that she was renting out. Like she was 21, married to this 40-year-old dude. She already had 3 kids and she was pregnant again. Like it was a really toxic environment or whatever. So I got the job. And at first, the job was like, oh, you're going to be a photography assistant. I'm going to teach you how to edit pictures. But then I bought this photography studio with an apartment on top. I need you to clean this out so that I can rent it. So I cleaned it out for the guy and I was, going on shoots with him and being his assistant and learning how to do Photoshop and stuff. And then he was like, hey, do you still need a place to live or whatever? Because you could have one of these rooms. So I ended up living there by myself for a month. And then my friend moved in. And we were sharing a room at first, but then she got a room across from me. And then the other lady, she ended up moving in. And I was like, oh my gosh, we know each other. I remember you from that one shoot or whatever. So I met her, and then she told me about her own horror stories, dealing with that guy, and then dealing with the weird guy in the gray suit and the hairstylist and everything. And she told me about how he tried to scam her, but like because her hair was already long, like her hair was like down here, so she didn't need to sew in, so she was able to just go in and get like a blowout or whatever. So he wasn't able to like convince her to give him money for the hair because like she didn't need to someone because her hair was long enough to, I guess, not need one or whatever. But he like scammed her out of money because he told her that like he was an agency and he made it seem like he was this big shot, whatever. And like she's originally from Chicago area, but like she was like raised in Beverly. She's a like her family is Jehovah's Witness, so she grew up really sheltered. And when she graduated high school, she like joined the military, and then she lived out in California for like a decade with this guy, and she was broke as fuck with this guy, and she was miserable, and she decided to come back to Chicago, and then she was living with family, and then she like was able to like join the military again and do this apartment and then get into like the modeling scene and stuff again. So that's how she got into this guy. But the reason why she was more vulnerable and susceptible to the scam is because she just had a really sheltered life. She's a few years older than me. Like at the time I was like 22 and she was like 28, 29. So like she was a bit older than me, but because she didn't have the experience of being trained in like human trafficking and stuff, and like she grew up in a cult essentially, Jehovah's Witness cult, and then she joined the military, which is a cult in a different format. Like she was more vulnerable and susceptible to his scams and ways. He ended up scamming her out of a few $100s. And then she told me about other people that she knew that had also been scammed by him, and some of their horror stories. Like some people got scammed like thousands of dollars by this man. Like he was a pariah all over Chicago. Word started to get around. People started to get warned. Like Chicago's a big city, but when it comes to the art and fashion and world is really small, especially compared to like New York or LA or Miami, where they have like bigger modeling agencies and stuff. Like like it's a small world, whether you're freelance or you're with an agency or what. Like word started to get around about the guy, and I guess like he just kind of disappeared. Like I stopped seeing him downtown every time I went downtown. He stopped contacting me. He was still in contact with her for a little bit while we were living together and stuff. And then she was in contact with the guy in the gray suit. I don't remember his name. I just remember he was just very weird. Like he kind of had this energy about him where he wanted you to feel like he was more important than he actually was, and it was just a facade, however you say that fucking word. Like it was just all like a front. It wasn't like based on how people actually are. And like I've been around people who are modeling agents. I've been around people who work with modeling agencies. I was friends with people who are agency models. Like I was friends with people who are like celebrity hairstylists, celebrity makeup artists, celebrity photographers, celebrity stylists, celebrity fashion designers, like people who are like really high up in like the fashion world. And like I know how people act. I know how people carry themselves, and the way that these people acted and the way these people carried themselves, like something was wrong, something was off. It was obviously a scam. So it's like he tried to scam me, but it just didn't work out for him because the $300 I had he pocketed, he actually ended up giving to the company, and that company ended up sending me my hair. So I didn't get scammed out of money because I got exactly what the fuck I paid for. The only thing I got scammed out of is the opportunity to start my career as a dental assistant sooner rather than later. It was a hard lesson to learn, but I guess I just had to learn it for my life to turn out the way that it did. And everything, I'm very fortunate that I had people in my ear early on to educate me about the dangers of human trafficking and everything. And I've always just, and even before then, before I learned about human trafficking and all this other stuff going on, like I was always like a bit skeptical about people and stuff. Like even though people tried to make me into a religious person when I was a child, when I was a teenager, like people really tried hard to indoctrinate me into the cult of Christianity, and I just wasn't buying it. The math never mathed for me. I always asked questions, I always had in trouble for asking questions, and like it just never like it made any sense to me. So not being indoctrinated in Christianity really helped me out to be less vulnerable to predatory people like that and everything. And not being forced into a position to where I had to join the military also made me less vulnerable to people projecting the illusion of authority onto me. So like that was a thing. Also, me being alternative, me being goth, being me being surrounded by other alternative and goth people, people who are very strong-willed, people from all walks of life, all ages, all like belief systems, all jobs, all careers and such, really helped shape my worldview when I was younger, and it's really helped me out a lot in life. So, did I get scammed out of hundreds of dollars? No. Did I get scammed of my time, of my energy? Yes. So, I won't even say, oh yeah, be aware of this guy named K who like pretends to be a modeling agent and all that stuff. Because I don't even think he is in Chicago anymore. I don't think that he is active in his scamming. You know, maybe he got a new hustle. I don't know. But yeah, like that guy tried to scam me and it just didn't really work out for him. Like I didn't lose anything financially speaking. So because I just wasn't willing to put myself at risk. It's like, dude, you already made me like fail my exam and miss out on all these opportunities to like start a career and everything. You're trying to get me to give you my fucking rent money, a broke ass college student. You're trying to get me to give you my fucking grocery money. You're trying to get me to give you the savings that I have for next month in case this job doesn't work out. And the money, the little money that I had, because like even though I had a job, is like it was an internship, so it only lasted a couple of weeks. And in my other job, where I was working as a photography assistant, is like it was busy when I first started because I was cleaning out the photography studio in preparation for it to be a living space and a photography space because it was basically a house that he split up into being a photography slash living space that wasn't really licensed to be that. Like there are certain laws about living arrangements and business situations. Like it has to be split up a certain way, and he wasn't doing the proper channels.